If I may ask you that, are you tired of promotional calls or SMS? Well, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India is taking action now. Customers will have more control over the promotional calls or the SMS. So in a big move, TRAI and RBI have launched a digital consent acquisition pilot with 9 telecom operators and 11 banks. So in this pilot project, selected users will soon receive SMS alerts from 127000 to review, manage or revoke the consent they earlier gave for the promotional messages. So this aims to fix the outdated consent systems and also to ensure that you only get the messages you actually want. The pilot will test the platform before a full rollout. Once live, customers will have full control to block or allow the messages, all digitally. So it's a step towards cleaner consent-based communication in India. Now to discuss further, joining me are Dr. Satya N Gupta, former principal advisor at TRAI, and Ashok Hariharam, CEO and founder, IDfy. So welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So,
by the way, IDfy.
IDfy, I beg your pardon there. Starting off, Mr. Gupta, consumers have lived with this unwanted promotional SMS for years, despite DND. So what gap is TRAI finally addressing with this digital consent acquisition pilot?
Yes, actually, you are right, Himanshi. This gap is very evident, and the TRAI government, other regulators are trying to do this for last 20 years. Lot of steps have been taken. Lot of work has happened also. Actually, the problem was really unsurmountable, very, very complex. 950 million customers actually, and so many service providers. So the final thing, now this is the final thing what TRAI have done, and they have really used the technology here. They have used what is known as blockchain, but they call it distributed ledger technology. It's a wonder technology. It's actually data ledger. It's a platform, what TRAI has mentioned, a unified digital platform, which basically brings transparency, trust, and as well as immutability. So what it does exactly is it automates the process of sharing of the information, sharing of the data, and also providing some information like in the form of consent. Earlier it was paper-based. Actually, the real regulation to do this came back in 2018, but that time it was first of all individual operator linked and also paper based, actually a very cumbersome thing. That is why they call it legacy. So it did the job, but halfway, because the technology was not used, which was there in the regulation itself. So now the technology have been used, and instead of giving this task to the operators, the TRAI itself have done is they have created this platform, what is called distributed digital ledger platform, which is a part of blockchain ecosystem actually. And that is what main thing it will do is it will make it automated. It will not have a controller like earlier. Either it was a service provider or it was a regulator who was controlling, who was interacting with the customer, who wanted to block, who wanted to say yes or no. Here it will be directly linkage of the customer to the platform, the blockchain based platform. No human intervention, no any agency intervention, and it will be not only automating, it will be intelligent, flexible, it will programmable kind of thing. A customer can do not yes or no type. It can do only this thing should come to me. Only this kind of service provider should catch me. And in addition to TRAI, now RBI, another regulator, actually the TRAI formed a association kind of thing of all the regulators. RBI is just one of them, even the insurance company, all those. So they took the guidance from them. They took the cooperation from them, so that the bank as service provider also actually helped. So it is a very, very comprehensive, very, very far reaching thing. But main thing is
So, Mr.
using technology to automate the process.
Yes, Mr. Gupta. And, because the real problem seems to be not the new consent, but the old ones lying everywhere. So, Mr. Ashok, let me just bring you in here from a technology standpoint. So, what made these legacy consents so hard to digitize? Why couldn't the system handle them all these years?
So I think the first step is the DPDP Act itself. The Act became sort of, the rules only came out like literally 3 weeks ago. So now it's like, honestly, it's one of those like right time, right place kind of moments. That's one. The second part of it is, if you think about your consents that you have given in the past to a bank, to an NBFC, or for that matter, an insurance company, these, a lot of them are on paper. You might have given a consent, and and that consent is like largely kind of overreaching terms of use is what you had given, and a lot of times they were not specific, in the sense that they were not specific that, oh, I give consent for promotional as a separate line item. It was a giant consent. You just said terms of use. So it was being used, because there was no regulation. It was being used a little more frivolously than it should have been. What this particular sort of moment, especially with TRAI and RBI and the banks coming together, is that one is the digitization of that consent earlier taken. So imagine this as the banks are now presenting this notice to their customers that I in the past I have your consent for promotional messages. Is it can I continue to have this? At that point, you can obviously say no, and then that goes into a central system, and then goes into their consent like governance framework within a bank. And we work with a few banks on this, because IDfy has Privy, which is our consent and data governance platform, and that will directly work with that data governance platform to enable or disable a particular user's consent. More importantly, I think the biggest changes there is, and I think this is on the notion of trust itself. If you look at in general, a lot of us got all these SMSs from short codes that we don't even know if it is actually a bank's short code. Now with that number that you're going to get that message from, which is 127 000, customers can trust that message as a message which is official, and therefore can then be led towards that trusted framework, that, if you may. So it goes a little bit more than the technology itself, but actually establishing a trust for that customer, in my opinion. Having said that, there's another fundamental layer here. Today, if I look at my own, I get about 12 calls a day. A bunch of builders call me. I get SMSs from banks, NBFCs. There are specific NBFCs who call you multiple times, as we all know. And some of them, I have not even gone to their website. I've not even given consent. They have taken my data from places where they've bought my data from a data provider, and they're assuming consent at some level. That assumption now needs to necessarily get authenticated and say, hey, do I really do have that permission from you that I can send that promotional message? So I think there's a lot of underlying, what I would call plumbing that is required in the tech systems in order to be able to pull this off. That's why this is a pilot, and this is on a small user base, because doing this as an extensive, let's be honest, there are 200 million odd people who have bank accounts.
Mr. Ashok, that explains why the pilot is starting small. A limited set of users. So, Mr. Gupta, as we are starting with 11 banks and 9 telcos, so only a tiny slice of customers will actually get these SMSs. So, for a consumer watching right now, what decides whether they are part of this limited test batch?
Yeah, actually you are right, but actually the data of these bank subscriber is there with the banks already, but they want to try it as a test. What the regulator always follow, what is called a sandbox approach. but it will be for a short time only, and then they will open it. The platform is ready, the data of all the customer is there, and it is digitized also. And as you mentioned, Himanshi, that why it took so much time. So there are two processes here. One is just digitization, like there is a paper thing, you basically convert it into a PDF or in a data document, but that is not the real thing. That does not help much. You have to digitalize it. Actually, you have to format it in such a way that is called porting of the data. Porting of the data from the conventional digital platform to the distributed ledger platform, actually, and that is the blockchain. So there is some kind of complexity, and that they have done now, but still they don't want to put it straight away on the hot seat. Actually, they want to do these sandbox approach, and now it will happen. And the other customer, because in any case, when there is a soft launch or when there is a trial, everyone does not get it. But actually, the other customer can also log on to the platform, actually, which will be made open. There will be an interface to any customer who has actually given his consent earlier, and those who have not given, they can give now. And earlier, those who have given, they can actually modify it if they want, so actually withdrawing it, reversing it, modifying it, and making it selective. They can control that consent even now. Everyone who has earlier given consent, they'll be there. But the SMS will come to only the selected one, just few one, just to test the model or to test the platform. And it should not take much time for the TRAI to make it open to everyone, actually.
Understood. And the moment, they get that SMS, so there's a security question now. So, Ashok, like you had mentioned it, like while saying that you will be getting that message from 127000, and that you can confirm that it's, valid and legitimate. But India's phishing problem, it persists. So how can users be absolutely sure that an SMS from 127000 with a link is legit? How airtight is the authentication there?
I think there are two problems here. One is the delivery of the message itself. If it is 1270, we know it's official. So that's taken care of. There is second problem there is that in India, a lot of people change their numbers all the time. So imagine I might have had my earlier number in my bank account, let's say HDFC or ICICI Bank, and I have not changed that number. So my consent will now flow to somebody who now holds that number, right? So I think there are a bunch of nuances because numbers are not unique. Unique in the sense uniquely identified to a user at any given time. So there's a bunch of other authentications to be done. And I think that's where the telecom players are playing in there, right? Because they know that, hey, this is, for example, if I have my name and my number mapped, then the same name has to show up from HDFC Bank, let's say. And if the name are not matching, you don't send that SMS to me, because even though the number might be the same, because you might know that, hey, you might say that, hey, according to the TRAI, according to Airtel, the number belongs to Himanshi and that's not Ashok, right? So there could be blockages, etc., so that the data doesn't flow. And this is where the communication between the banking system and TRAI comes into play. And this is the authentication layer that needs to happen. Having said that, this obviously will not be scam because of that 127000 number. Yeah. So I think citizens can be rest assured that this is definitely not a scam, but there will be nuances.
Okay, so that's the big picture there, a pilot that could, give consumers real control for the first time over who can contact them and how. And if the technology holds and the public, adapts, so this could be one of the most important steps towards privacy and clean communication in India's digital ecosystem there. So with that, thank you so much, Mr. Ashok and Mr. Gupta, for being there with us and sharing your deep insights with our viewers.